Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And yesterday, we did the first video going into EX2 Beatdown Battle with a number of orange teams, plus the Schemer meta, because you can't really nerf the sword gimmick. Today, we're going to be using non-orange teams to do such things. So, we got like two teams, maybe, with the Spirit Master hero, since she is the 3.5 anniversary protector, and people will probably have her, probably being the question mark, and then some other teams along the way. So if the first video yesterday didn't really work for you, hopefully today's video does. But just as a reminder, this is an orange orb focused stage with a starting hand of either a triple orb steal, or bringing like Alphen to convert the 3 orbs right here to oranges. And then the enemies, they don't have a lot of HP, they have less than 1 million each, which is huge, but they do nerf your Pierce and Synergy Power and your Pierce and Synergy Rate. They nerf blues and greens, but we're going to try and overcome that with the power of rainbows today. And yeah, so hopefully this video works for you if the first one didn't. There are probably some other teams, so if you have found other teams that I did not showcase either today or yesterday, please put them in the comments so people can see that and maybe use those instead. But let's go ahead and jump in. Alright, so the first team that I'm going to use is a heavily modified Spirit Master team. So, the stage wants you to use an AoE fire magic character. Well, maybe you don't have Shionne. Your next best option is going to be Momiji, she's been around for a while. We've got Spirit Master Hero and Leon and Velzard here. Whether or not you need Velzard is a different story, but we are going to bank on the rainbow orbs from Visions of Coleus Rimuru. Now, my Rimuru is skill fused, so I can use his rainbow orb change twice. Whereas someone who just pulled him maybe doesn't have those resources, but it is very, very impactful to have that option available in 2 different turns. And then we've got free-to-play Alphen, who's going to be our alt-swapping character, and he can change orbs turn 1 if we need him to. And then, obviously, Momiji is our nuker. However, with Momiji, you do have to... Oh, hold on. Anyways, with Momiji, you do have to remember that Pierce and Synergy is nerfed by, a decent amount in the stage, and both of her skills give Pierce and Synergy. So, you kinda can't super rely on them, but you're gonna need one of them. And because her Synergy and Synergy resistance down debuff is 60%, it does overtake their defensive buff. So we can get like 10% synergy resistance down on them, and any little kind of damage helps. But turn 1, we did bring Alphen into orb change, but we also brought Momiji in for the second slot. That way she doesn't have her alt. Whether or not that's a good decision is up to you, but I wanted both of their protection gauge traits active on turn 2. So that's why we left both of them up here. So here, we are going to start playing into getting points and natural blue orbs. So we're just going to send the Alphen alt because we're not ready to nuke and whatever. And that does get us a Momiji alt, but more importantly, it does give us quite a few blue orbs. So here, you can either decide to leave Momiji in to get that extra alt gauge from the hero, or just these orbs in general. We could do a number of things. So first off, we are going to bring Leon in, an orb change there, and then we're just going to bank on Momiji getting her EX alt again from these 3 rainbow orbs. So we're just going to convert everything to rainbow, we'll send the Velzard Momiji alt, do a little bit of chip damage, and more importantly, we're going to get either close to or get Momiji's EX alt again. I think we get close to it, and we got to deal with some counters. Oh yeah, we get very close. But we can easily cover that with another orange orb or the Masked Hero's ability to alt rush us 50% when she's active, because she is now active. Velzard being stunned, not a super huge big deal, quite honestly, because she's not really contributing anything until the nuke turn, if that. So we'll bring Alphen in, we will orb change and alt swap that away, we will bring Leon in to do another convert here, but we don't have enough points to do the rainbow orbs. So we're just going to bank on these couple of stacks of the hero to give us a little bit extra skill points so that maybe next turn we can do it again. And thankfully we do get quite a few back, and we get a very good hand. So Momiji now has her EX ult, and she also has an orb and the incoming orb, which makes it very, very simple to just simply bring Coleus Rimuru in for Momiji, can self-convert for 25, and then use the second of the rainbow skill effects here to really get some stacks for the hero and everything else and points back. So we'll do this. Now, if you don't have Coleus Rimuru skill fuse and you can only use him once, then you just wouldn't use this here. And you would still get some points, but you wouldn't get nearly as many. But here, we'll go ahead and swap him out now for Alphen, and now Alphen has an ult again, which is cool. Gobta has the taunt, not a super huge big deal, but we have points, and that's the most important thing. So, take that ult. Alright, cool. We'll take these ults, and they don't do that much damage, and we've been healing back all the damage we've taken pretty much this entire fight because of the hero healing, and along with the ult rushing. Everybody has been getting 20% physical or magic damage, depending on who you are. And then here, actually it's just magic damage. So boom, we've used the ult buff from Leon, so ult and EX ult for 111%. And then we'll use the Aegis ability, and then we'll use the synergy and synergy resistance down. See, they have 50% synergy resistance, and Momiji does 60%. So we are going to benefit off that. We're all going to use the Pierce and the Fire buff as well, because we have the points for it. And if we don't Pierce, then great, that actually is good for us. And if we do Pierce, well, at least we have that 70% Fire attack just tacked on. And now, we'll hopefully kill here. We'll send Velzard first, because she is an ult, and she'll do some kind of damage. We have a full hand, so Velzard, yeah, cool, whatever. Momiji does 1 million and then 1.4 million damage there. So definitely able to do it. You are really, really banking on those rainbow orbs, especially if you have them skill fused. That, like, if we didn't have them skill fused, we were not ready to nuke on that turn, because we wouldn't have been capped out on points. But that is kind of a modified Spirit Master full magic team. Alright, an alternate version of a Spirit Master hero-led team is going to look like this, and this is now assuming you have the new Shionne at least. And we're still going to bank on rainbow orbs, but in a different way. So New Year's Blessing Rimuru converts his own orbs to rainbow, therefore we've brought a triple orb stealer, whether it be the hero or Hinata or Shuna or whoever you want it to be, just a triple orb stealer. And that way we can steal into 6 Rimuru, turn them all to rainbows, and then bring Shionne in, and pretty much do a Valor Cup strategy, almost, in that kind of same sense. And then we brought Blanc for the massive buff, and then we also have Christmas Shizu, who is going to be able to give an AoE fire buff, which Shionne is fire, a fire resistance down debuff, which Shionne is fire, and then also the AoE damage buff on her 15-point skill, or AoE resistance down. It's a debuff, because it's Pierce Power and a debuff on it. So she can double up as a support character for Shionne and work pretty well for her, and also maybe be like a secondary DPS unit if you need her to be. She's not fully optimized here because she's in the first slot. She doesn't have like a fire support underneath her. Not truly a big deal, but you know, as we'll see, it's not really a factor on our run. So turn 2, we will steal with the hero. We brought her in turn 1 to just have those 3 orbs, and then we sent the other 3 oranges. And now we've got, with Blanc's skill, enough points to use the rainbow, and then Shionne comes in. And we get 6 rainbows, easy EX ult, easy double stack of the Protector Masked Hero. And at this point, we're just playing a stockpile points game, because we have a number of buffs. We've got 2 90-point skills in Blanc and Shionne, and then we have the 55 and 15 from Shizu, and we want to make sure we're sending the nuke with all of those skills activated. So we do need to kind of play a waiting game for the next couple of turns, and just pray we can get some extra orbs. Now, if your New Year's Blessing Rimuru is skill fused, you could use his Rainbow Orb change twice, and that would be huge for gaining points back, because we could have brought him in for Blanc here and sent 4 rainbows plus the extra orbs, and that would have probably been where we needed to be. But I have not skill fused mine, so not a truly big deal. So we're just gonna have to play around it, which just means waiting out a couple more turns. So like here also would have been great, because we could have sent a full hand, because it would have been 3 rainbows, an alt, and 2 blues, and that would have gotten the job done as well. But here, we're just going to send the 3 Rimarus, we're getting a few points back, and then we're going to hold on to the Blanc ult, because we are just not getting Shizu orbs at all, so we can't rely on her to be an AoE DPS. But Blanc, as we know, can double as a DPS character on any team, if she needs to be, because of that Dark Resistance down buff that she has, because that will enhance her damage by quite a bit. And even though she's not going to benefit from the fire and everything like that, she'll benefit from the AoE debuff, and her own buff, and the crit buff from Shionne. So now we're going into turn 6 here with 2 ults, one of them being EX, and enough points to full nuke now. So we'll bring Shionne in for New Year's Rimuru, who thankfully has 3 orbs, and then we'll go ahead and use everything here. So, boom, 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 and then we need to use the Blanc skill to give us a little bit extra points, and then we can use the big... Actually, we didn't really need to do that, realistically. So, alright, now we're full buff regardless. So 1, 2, 3, 4, Shionne does 674, Blanc does 175, and that is enough to take both of them out. And if you didn't have a Blanc ult and you had a Fire Shizu ult, it maybe wouldn't have been quite as much, but I'm still confident that she would be able to finish the job alongside those other Shionne orbs that we had waiting as well. So there is another form of a Spirit Master hero-led team, but banking on a different build than the earlier one. Alright, I kind of forgot to include this orange team in the first video, but so we're going to just put it here. Antagonist, Emils, and then technically Isis and Kyoko, who came out for the meta. They are also an antagonist. We're going to once again bring out Momiji, and if you have Shionne, then that'll work too. Either one of them will do. Shionne will obviously be better, but Momiji will work, and so we're going to go with the lower powered option. And then we've got Alphen and Exalted Champion Rimuru. And this team, while Emils is giving Pierce rate to everybody, it can also get the job done just by virtue of brute force more than anything. Because if we can use every single buff on this team, we can do 800-something thousand damage. You just kind of got to work up to it. And Emils does have that newer kind of protection skill where he does make rainbow orbs alongside the oranges. So most burst protectors nowadays are giving at least 1 rainbow orb, if not 2. I can't wait for a converter in 2026 to give us 6 rainbows, and then that's the end of the game. Because what the hell can you do with that? What the hell can't you do with that, I guess? But we brought Momiji in. She has an alt right here. We have an alt-swapping character in Exalted Champion Rimuru, and we do have 2 other orbs for her, which means that we can have 3 rainbow orbs this turn. So we'll bring... Or we could use Alphen. Like, that works too. But Momiji is the only non-orange orb, and I don't want to bring Alphen in from Momiji because I kind of want her alt. So we're going to use the Alphen convert here and save Rimuru for next turn. The orange buff from Kyoko, very unnecessary. We're guaranteed the EX ult from Momiji, so it is just extra orange damage now, which I guess is cool. But I don't think it adds that much to our overall score. Like 13k a hit, so 26, 27k right here. Yeah, 26, 7, 8. Sure. I mean, yeah, that is chip damage. But more importantly, we already had the EX ult, so we didn't need the vitalization effect. But it does give us Alphen's ult now, which means that we have at least 2 ults that can be turned into rainbows with Rimuru, and also then 2 more from the Emils, because Kyoko has to go away. But we're going to use his buff, Magic and Weakness Strike, within the first 5 turns, and then we'll bring Rimuru in for Kyoko, and then we'll use his attack buff and the Rainbow Alt Swap. And then we're going to send Momiji away for Isis, that way she can hold on to both the Rimuru and Kyoko buff. We can use Emils here, get the full hand, get 4 rainbows total, and then we're going to be looking pretty solid for the nuke turn. We do need a few extra points, though. So turn 4 is going to kind of be a burned turn, a waste of a turn. We're just going to get those extra free 30 points from Emil's on turn 4 as well, and have that help us out. He missed the stun on Isis, not that it really matters all that much, but we'll send, a couple orbs here and there, we'll cap out, that way we will have 180 next turn, and we can also lead Alphen up front in case we need his backup single target DPS, in case somebody just doesn't die. So, 180 points. We've already used 2 of the buffs, which means we have plenty of points to go around now for the other things. We'll take Rimuru out of here, because we do need Isis to give the Drago buff to her. So ult resistance down, Drago, the Pierce power, I mean, yeah, cool, sure, whatever. But we're going to use Momiji's Synergy skill, just like we did earlier, because we are going to at least benefit from that. And then we're not going to use Emil's, we're just going to send this natural 6-hand. So Momiji first, and then we'll send Alphen last just to clean up if he needs to. But it's kind of unnecessary, because Momiji was enough to kill 2 of the enemies. And then... No, actually, no, we do need his ult. I lied. But I sent him last just because I know Benimaru has the most HP, and he's the one most likely to survive. And so I was hoping that maybe if one of the other people lived, that the Isis orbs would kill them, and then we could send the Benimaru ult. Because we weren't able to target... I don't think we were able to target Benimaru on that turn. But there's another orange team for the books, just in case. Okay, more Brute Force, this time with the Tournament Stalwart team. I don't know a lot of people that are going to have this team, or at least in this kind of build. But we have Veldora, the free-to-play Shinsha, Space Millum, the Rimuru, the Gobtaranga Fusion, and then Tournament Stalwart Lumi, who we know can do a butt-ton of damage. And even with physical resistance, Lumi doesn't give a shit. So, you could very easily replace the Rimuru and Gobta with other relatively cheap support options. Like, if you have the new Sokka, like, that'll work. If you have someone else who can give Lumi extra buffs, like, that will work too. Blanc actually will not buff Lumi that much, because Lumi is already getting her own physical damage buff, so I wouldn't actually bring Blanc on this team. But Lumi is also a triple orb stealer, so she can take the role of turn 1 and the nuke, just onto herself. And then Shinsha is the ult-swapping character, so next turn, we could ult-swap, but the thing with Veldora is that he just gives 100% ult gauge when you use him to wind and water? Right? Wind and water allies, which we have 2 wind characters up front, which means that I don't really care what kind of gauge Lumi has right now, as long as it's over a 1, then we're going to benefit. So let's use the Drago buff and then the personal buff now. That way Lumi can hold on to those. Boom. The Drago is going to impact her by buffing her by 1.2 times, 1.3 times. And then there's the Alt Rush. The future hand of blues is incoming, doesn't really matter. And then we'll just simply send Lumi away. And then as long as we have 100 points next turn, we're going to be able to nuke, because the the Gobtaranga buff and the Rimuru buff are 50 points each. And we're going to get 30 guaranteed from Veldora. So there we go. We have 71 points, which means the 30 plus is going to be 101, and then we'll nuke on turn 3. And then they're probably going to die. And we have a Gobta ult, because he did get a benefit off of that ult rush that we used for Lumi as well. So we'll just simply take Shinsha out of here. Shinsha would give people crit, which is cool, but we're going to benefit more off those other 2 buffs instead. So buff and buff. So attack and element damage and weakness strike and EX ult damage, I believe. Something like that. Yeah, something along the lines. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lumi does 732, which is almost enough to kill. And then Gobta, because he's a bitch, can't even do it. And Lumi has to come clean up his mess. So, turn 3 Tournament Stalwart team. Again, Gobtaranga and Rimuru, replaceable support units as long as they're relatively cheap. But you're really banking on Lumi for that turn 1 orb steal and just the damage output right there. And the final team I have for you today is literally just straight out of Valor Cup. We're running a relatively decent Valor Cup strategy team. Velzard, Exalted Champion. The greens are nerfed, doesn't really matter. We got rainbows again. We got a triple orb stealer in the hero, or whoever you choose it to be. We've got Blanc for the big time buff and the points. We've got Shionne for the nuke, and this is going to be like a precursor to her Valor Cup video, essentially. And then we've got this wielder of magic, Shizu, for whatever reason. I mean, it could be whoever you want. But Rainbow Orbs into 6 Shizu or 6 Shionne, plus the elemental buff, plus the Drago, plus the big time Blanc buff, plus the crit buff means, and maybe even the ult resistance down from the Shizu, means you're going to have a pretty easy time here. It does require a little bit of setup, though. But you're going to play it like you would if you were playing just like a turn 3 Valor Cup team, where turn 1, you're setting up for the steal, which is already technically set up for you, because you already have 3 orbs for the hero. Then you'll simply take Rimuru away for Shizu. That way, turn 2, you can steal, and then Rainbow, and then Shionne. So 1, 2, 3, perfect, fine, it is what it is. We'll have 74 points next turn, plus the trait from Shizu, I think, because she gives skill points on turn 2. So we'll have like 79, somewhere around there. Yeah, 79 points, there we go. So 3 orbs to the hero, excellent. Let's steal, let's use the orange buff, because it'll hit the rainbows as well. And then we'll bring Rimuru in to self-convert all those hero orbs, because they're now his orbs. And then we'll flip him away for Shionne, and that'll get her EX ult plus maximum points plus 2 Velzards. And then I guess we can use the ult rush and the ult resistance down because it lasts for 2 turns. That Shizu is not skill fused, so we are not benefiting off of that. We do have to wait for these counters to go by. But I mean, we're ready. We're ready to go. We're capped out. We're gonna have 180 points plus another 20 from Blanc if we need to use it. But we don't need to, because 180 is just enough to use 2 90-point skills. And then we're gonna have the Drago increasing the damage buffs from those, and then the element buff, which is also going to be increased because of Drago. And that means that you're gonna have a good time here. So boom, and boom. You don't need a secondary DPS, especially if you're using Shionne. If you're not, you might need someone, but this is assuming you have a Shionne. Full hand plus Blanc orbs, so Shionne does 717, and then we can finish it up with Blanc, who's getting that extra crit, that extra element, that extra damage buff, and the dark resistance down. So there's a very, very simple team right there to clear EX2. But that is going to do it for today's video. We got like 5 teams today to do that. So if you have used other teams that were not shown in today's video or yesterday's video, please put it down in the comments. That way other people can see that, and it does me a favor where I don't have to record like 6 parts for this. But that's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.